Okay, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. Guys, essentially today's webinar is just a Q&A. So what we're going to do is, if you guys wouldn't mind just writing in the chat box, you can come live as well on the microphone if you wish. And essentially what we're going to do is we are hopefully going to be able to just kind of put clarity on any of your questions regarding assignment 1 or assignment 2. So it's, again, guys, completely up to you if you want to use the microphone or you want to use the chat box. Hopefully I can kind of address any issues around assignment 1 or assignment 2. So, you know, whatever method suits you, and we can kind of kick off today's webinar. So I'd just like to check that my audio is coming through okay as well, and that you can see my screen. I suppose it doesn't really matter if you can see my screen today, but that is my audio functioning correctly? Thanks, Lindsay, for confirming that. Okay, guys, so let's kind of get into this. Let's talk what areas are you actually struggling on now regarding assignment 1 or assignment 2? If anybody wants to kind of kick off this session. Hi, Sophia. I see you've just joined us there. Sophia, I was just explaining to the guys on this session, it's a bit more of a kind of hands-on conversation, if you will, where we can kind of discuss assignment 1 and assignment 2 and any of the areas that any students are currently kind of having a bit of difficulty with, or just areas they seek clarity on. So you can feel free to use the chat box, or you can also use the microphone if you wish. You can come live and you can just ask me questions directly. Okay, thanks for Melissa for kicking this off. So you're asking what is the timings for the release of the assignment 1 results? Okay, Melissa, it's a good question. We have got a slight backlog in terms of getting the results out. We particularly large cohorts at the moment, but I can assure you that everybody is being processed properly. The usual time is about 6 weeks for the turnaround. Some students currently are experiencing 8 to 9 weeks, but don't worry if that's an issue. Regarding getting your results back, getting your feedback, that you can apply that to your next assignment. We're happy to give you a couple of extra weeks on assignment 2 there as well, if you have not received your feedback and grade within the 6-week window. If we know that that's the case, we can throw on an extra couple of weeks to allow you to develop your assignment correctly. So bear with us. We are just making sure that the policies and the procedures are going ahead. It's just that the cohorts are quite large at this particular time, and we're trying to make sure that everybody is processed correctly. So again, apologies for any delays on your assignment results coming back. I'll also have a look at yours, and I'll drop you a quick message after the webinar session as well to just give you a status report on where your current assignment is in terms of when it will be graded. Okay. I have another question here that says, bear with me, from Lindsay. My research is complete, but putting it all together to meet the criteria is something I am struggling with. What is the grading scale? Okay, so essentially you're asking there, what is the grading scale in terms of the assignments? And I can give you some insights into that now, if you bear with me. So, Lindsay, if you wouldn't mind just giving me a clarification of what assignment you are on, if it's assignment 1 or assignment 2.
I'm on assignment 1.
You're on assignment 1. Okay, no problem. So essentially, what you're asking me there is, what is the kind of grading rubric essentially? Is that what you're kind of asking me?
I think I'm struggling because I have all this data. I want to make sure I meet the criteria, but I'm wondering, is it like an A, B, C? Is it a pass or fail? What is the criteria for this?
Yeah, so essentially, it's a very good question. What I would say to you is that the first kind of port of call is that every section obviously has an approximate word count, and you'll have the approximate marks given to that section as well. So for assignment 1, exec summaries were 5%, research methodology 15%, target audience is 10, and then evolution 30, digital disruption 20, future trends I believe is 15, and then the references and appendices is 5%. Okay, and you should kind of match the word count there. What is the kind of expected criteria? It's a very good question. What I would say is that how this works essentially is 50% is the minimum required to pass the assignment, okay? And anything from 50 to 59 is a pass. Anything from 60 to 69 is a merit, and then anything from 70 plus is a distinction. In academic grading, you'll see a lot of the time that students would rarely score over 80%, if I'm being honest. Usually what most students would come out with is actually a merit. If it's a well-developed assignment, you're looking at about, the majority of students would probably come out with about 65%, which is really a great score. It's just the way academic kind of bell curve academic grading is done. And anyone who would have a very substantial, well-developed assignment, which really would have nothing wrong with it, you're looking at somebody then getting over the 70 plus mark, and that of course would be a distinction. So some students would get actually a 74 or a 75 and with a near on perfect assignment, if you will. And they might write back saying, I thought I'd get in the 90s. What's wrong with it? It really is just the way academic grading is accomplished and done. So again, if you were to get 60 to 70, it's a great result. 50 to 59, it's a pretty well put together assignment, but it just didn't have obviously some areas worth developing on, and that's why you wouldn't get a merit. But if you're getting that distinction 70 plus, that's really all you want to be looking at. I wouldn't be concerned about getting 80 plus or 90 plus or anything. It's just a 70 plus is the distinction mark. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. So don't be distraught when 60 comes my way. Hopefully a 60 comes my way, right?
Hopefully a 60, hopefully a 70 comes your way. I mean, like if you follow what's needed in the assignment guidelines, per section, match the word count, and bring in, for example, for section 5 on assignment 1, making sure that you kind of embed the case studies in section 5. You have a good contrast of what's going on in kind of local and global perspectives regarding digital disruption. And same with future trends. If you make sure to utilize your research for target audience and also industry, looking at what's coming down the line in the future of these particular digital trends or technologies that you've picked, and again, within the word count, have your appendices developed, have your references developed, use your references and appendices to kind of verify and amplify the content within your actual assignment. And that's where you start scoring some good marks. Nothing really should just be kind of your opinion. Everything should kind of be backed by data, backed by research. And again, that can be from academic journals, it can be from online articles, trend reports, it can be from channel data, it can be from your primary research, survey data, interviews. Everything really should kind of have a point of origin in terms of its research, and that's really where students start scoring some pretty well developed marks.
Okay, and then I guess following up with that, and I'm sorry to commandeer the conversation, but if someone else wants to jump in, by all means.
Yes, please do.
But with a citation, so say you're using an article that has a citation within it, right? So they're citing someone else's work. How do you treat that?
Yes, great question.
As a citation.
Yes, so I believe there's an example of this in the assignment Harvard guidelines, which we have on the platform. But essentially, if I was quoting you, and you were in Amy Kitkana's academic journal, published journal. I'm just pulling names off the participants list here, trying to get a bit of engagement going. But you would say as cited in. So you would say Lindsay 2020 as cited in Kitana 2021 or so on. But there is an example of that in the assignment Harvard guidelines on the platform. It's a little bit easier to read it sometimes and say it, but that's what you want to say, as cited in. Yeah. And then you would give the academic journal where you've cited it from. You wouldn't give the original one because you can't find it. Ideally, you'd want to try and look for the original one, but if you can't find it, you can still use the research.
Okay. And I have one more question if someone else doesn't have some. As far as case studies, right? So are we trying to find something specific to our industry or something just within that relates to what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I think I understand it. Essentially, because this is for section 5 where you need the case studies, it really is industry aligned case studies. So that's really the first port of call. And again, not forgetting that it would be one of the digital technologies or channels that you're looking for as well. So this can be an area where students find quite difficult. Sometimes depending on the industry that they've picked, they can struggle here to find a case study that's, kind of that they can implement into section 5. What I would say is that a lot of students sometimes will look on, if it's social media, that's kind of an easier one because they can look on the LinkedIn pages or the Instagram case study pages and so on. Other students find that if they're maybe using email marketing as one of their technologies or channels, sometimes providers like Marketo or even MailChimp have case studies on their actual website. Could be an area worth exploring. Again, it would have to be industry aligned though. So if it was a fashion company or just trying to think of pharmaceutical company, that's the kind of research you'd be looking to embed in the content that you're developing. Another alternative is, and I've seen students do this, is that they develop kind of the case study criteria: situation, task, action, and result. And how they do that is, a lot of the time when you're reading academic journals, and again, academic journals would usually feature research on a particular industry and a particular channel, digital channel. Sometimes they will have content that kind of aligns with what's needed in a case study. So they might be critiquing a previous academic journal, for example, or maybe research that was conducted by an industry kind of an industry thought leader, and they would say, you know, research was conducted looking at maybe 3 or 4 companies, and they found this kind of answer by utilizing, let's say, SEO as the channel. And so you can actually use academic journals here for your case studies as well, as long as you kind of inform upon, you know, the situation, the task, the action, and the result. And what that means basically is, you know, finding a company or data of the industry where something was done using a particular channel. How did they do it, and what was the result of using that channel? Is that okay?
Yeah, it's going to be damn near impossible. The propane
What is the industry as a
is
matter of interest?
the propane industry, and it's such an antiquated industry that the social media is not on their spectrum.
Okay. So it's propane. I mean, you could look. It really is about drilling down on the industry. I'm guessing this is obviously, you know, energies as the industry goes, or kind of
Yes, energy.
propane.
I guess that
Yeah.
could work.
So that, you know, you can probably scope it out a little bit if it aligns to your actual company, and that should be okay. But just keep it within the industry that it is if you can. But
Okay.
that's one thing I always try to mention to students at the beginning, is that picking the industry. A lot of the time, target audience research, not so bad, but sometimes industry research. Believe it or not, propane. I had one student who was actually picked the industry. I don't even know what industry. I guess protective headwear would be the industry, but he had masks, and these were masks that were used specifically for people working in tunnels, underground tunnels. So I was saying, oh my God. And this was obviously before COVID, even with a lot of people obviously purchasing some safety equipment and masks, but very niche industry. And I think, if I remember correctly, I think he opted to actually go to a different company because it just wasn't feasible in terms of the free research that he could avail of. So propane maybe doesn't sound as bad now. I hope it's something you can find insights towards. But again, you know, remember, there's kind of a plethora of different methods you can use. You can kind of develop a case study, or you can try and find one specific to the industry, the energy industry. Okay.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Okay, guys, I think I have a few more questions in the chat box, so I'm gonna go through some of them, and we'll see how we get on from there. So citations, how do I treat that? Yes, guys, I don't have any other questions coming through now. I'm just reading through Lindsay's questions there again. Has anyone got any other questions, guys? Feel free to ask. We've got a couple of minutes on this session, so if you want to bounce some ideas, you want to verify some methods, ask about any areas that might contain some research, please feel free to do so, and we can hopefully help you out.
Hey, Daniel. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Okay, good morning for me, actually.
It's
good.
afternoon. It's afternoon
Yeah.
for us, Sophia. It's just 1:15. So, but good morning, and I guess good night to possibly some of our students as well. How can we help, Sophia?
Actually, Daniel, I am starting my research on the assignment, on my second assignment right now.
Okay.
And I am just a little bit maybe worried about my approach, because I have no contact. Like, okay, specifics. I am working with an airline.
Okay.
I think I think we have emailed a couple of times about it, and I don't know like how to like, could you maybe give us a recommendation on how to approach a company at this stage of the assignment? Like your recommendation, I have heard one or a couple of your webinars already, and last time like you recommended that we should have a contact within the company.
Yeah.
How would you approach it at this stage, and what would be the key points that you would want to get from the company at this time?
Okay, it's a good question. So Sophia, I'd just like to clear one thing up, because we have some students who are using real airlines, and they're in correspondence with their airlines, and that's absolutely fine. But we've other students who are using the kind of mock-up company airline that we provide to students if they can't actually access a company. So which method are you on? Are you
the second one?
The second one. Okay, so you're using the mock-up. That's absolutely fine. So what I would say is that ideally you need to reach out to somebody in the airline industry. Okay, it's actually not essential if you're doing the mock-up version. Okay, but it's warranted if you can get somebody. So I don't know if it was talking to you. I was talking to another student during the week about this, so it might be yourself. And I apologize if I'm kind of reiterating information that I said to that student. But what I would say is the company that you've picked, the airline that you've selected, that's brilliant. If you can reach out to somebody in that company for information, that's fine. If not, though, you don't have to worry. Okay, if they don't get back to you, that's absolutely okay. What you then need to do is you need to kind of build the representation of what that company would have available to them. So the kind of marketing capabilities that company would have available to them. My advice would be to look at companies. So let's go with an example. Do you mind me asking what airline you've actually picked? You've selected?
It's KLM.
KLM. Okay, very good. So a bit more of a kind of premium airline there. Yeah. What I would say to you is, and it's actually the opposite to what the student I was talking to during the week was saying. So hopefully this is kind of new information. The student that I was discussing during the week was actually using CityJet as their airline. And in that case, I said, a good representation of how you can identify kind of what channels they're on and so on, it kind of aligns to the competitor analysis in some respects. What I would say is use market research from the likes of SimilarWeb is a good tool. Uber Suggest, another good tool to kind of look at their website there as well in terms of the kind of website efficiency. Okay. And say to yourself, well, who are the direct competitors? So in this case, it's KLM, so it's a bit higher up, depending on the regions or so on, and maybe it's Emirates. And look and see what are the capabilities that they are utilizing, all the kind of competitors in that field. Okay. Then at that point, what I would say to you is to establish that, okay, these are the kind of channels, this is the kind of conversions and so on. There is a budget that I've given for that particular assignment method. Okay, so I think it's 66 million, and it was from 2017. I could be wrong, but it's in the kind of the guidelines for that particular assignment. Is that what it is? Give or take, it's 66 million. Yes. So reference that article that I've actually given there, and that's your kind of benchmark of the available budget. The good news about that budget is you can kind of, it's pre-COVID-19 as well, so it's a nice budget to work with, because the airline industry has obviously been heavily disrupted since. So use that budget available to you. Then it's up to you, and this is the part that's different. So use your competitor analysis to see what are the salient channels that the airline industry, in your case KLM, is using. Look at the competitors, see what channels they're using as well, based on some of the research that I suggested. Look at academic journals to see the performance of premium airlines, okay, and see what kind of channels they're utilizing. And again, not a million miles from what I mentioned to Lindsay, looking at academic journals to see the kind of success and the critique of how they're using these particular channels. All right, and build your internal capabilities of the company based on research. That's really what you're looking to do here. The final thing I would say that's quite important is in the situation analysis section, it's where you have to develop that kind of internal capabilities and resources of the marketing team. And that's really where the issue lies. So you can do that, as I said, by looking at SimilarWeb, by looking at the likes of Uber Suggest, by looking at their social media platform in itself. Look at their social media channels, see what's going on there, look at their content marketing, sign up for their email newsletter, and use that kind of data. What I would say is then, though, when you're looking at actually developing the available personnel and resources, you can grab that, as I said, from the likes of SimilarWeb, okay, what channels they're utilizing. But to give a typical representation of the budget, we have that because it's 66 million, but the capabilities in terms of their personnel on the team, you'll have to do a bit of research there to gain insight into what would be the traditional, if you will, what's the word I'm looking for here, kind of hierarchy and available personnel within a marketing team. So it's literally just looking at research from an academic journal and trying to find out, based on previous research that was conducted, what is the kind of overall representation of what a marketing department in an airline. It could even be a cost leader airline like Ryanair. You don't have to drill down. If you can get a premium one, that's brilliant. But that's where the research comes in here, and you just have to bounce it off a source that is what the ideal representation of the airline marketing department would look like. You base it on that research, and then you can start building out your Gantt chart and aligning tasks and so on to these particular amount of people, whether it's an SEO manager, SEO executive, pay-per-click manager, content marketing associate, whatever they are. So again, you'll have to do a little bit of, but don't worry, I know it's a little bit more difficult to do, but when someone is actually grading your paper, we're aware that it takes a slightly different method, and that won't be an issue. My advice in one sentence is to back it up with research. Does that help at all? Or have I confused you more perhaps?
No, totally. Actually,
okay.
I think when you talked last time about the airline, you were talking about the case when the people is actually within the company, or they already have a contact within the company. So I really got worried that you emphasized that it was so important to get like the information within the company. So
okay, I understand. Yeah, no, that would be specifically for people that are actually using an airline in the real, who have actually coincidentally, if you will, used a real airline, and they're in frequent correspondence with somebody there. Yeah, so there's kind of two methods with the airline at the moment. Some students have actually, they might work in an airline and they're in the marketing department, or they might work in operations and they know someone in the marketing department and they're bouncing off them for their research. But we have other students who are just using the airline simulation. That's what we kind of technically call it. And in that case, you've just got to back up stuff with research.
Okay, perfect. No,
okay, no problem.
No problem. Daniel, I have another question in this case.
Yes, of course.
When you approach the section of the channels, then how would you I believe you should use 4 to 5 channels that the airline already use?
Yeah.
Or could it be also something or that the airline already, it's not okay, how do I say it? Right now, for example, KLM is doing a lot of channels, they are already they are pretty innovative, and they are already using everything that that I have been learning. They are already doing SEO, they are using Facebook, they are using groups, they are doing everything in the market. But if in the case I don't find anything that they are not doing, can I just approach every channel for something that they could do better? Or is it or should I definitely find something that they are not using? Or
yeah, it's a great question. So if we roll back a little bit, the channel section, there's really 2 key criteria that need to be established before we head into the channels section. And it's a way of ensuring that you pick the right channels. In section 5, you're going to set out your objectives. Okay. And these are obviously your overall business objectives and any of the digital marketing objectives that are required and aligned to that to complete them. And not forgetting as well that you've got your target audience developed in section 4. Okay, this is again, guys, assignment 2. If anybody's on assignment 1, we're actually talking about assignment 2 now. So with that being said, you've got your target audience and you've got your business objectives laid out. The channels that you pick need to qualify both of them. Okay, so what I would say is, if you find, and let's keep it simple, if you have primary research conducted for the airline industry, and the good news is that with the airline industry and the particular way you're developing your assignment, you can kind of talk to anybody, because most people would be a frequent at some point they would have traveled on an airline. So
definitely
what I would say is that look at the data that you've pulled in from your primary research. Okay, and if there's particular social channels that are really standing off the page, maybe it's Instagram is usually quite a travel centric platform, or if it's Facebook, or if it's even TikTok at this point. Look at the ones that are important. The same way, look at how many people would utilize maybe email marketing for deals with airlines. These are the kind of questions that you would have had from your target audience survey. If you haven't asked those questions and you haven't got the results that you need, maybe you can go back and do another survey, or add to the survey, okay, specific to your channels that you're looking for information on. Now, the reason I say that is because that allows you to qualify meeting your target audience. So what channels are the ones that they're present on, that they're utilizing all the time? Okay, specific, of course, to their airline conversions or airline considerations when they're flying, and they're the channels that you're going to pick. So if we had, as an example, some students, searching, or sorry, not students, sorry, some customers searching for best deals in best airline to travel with this year to Dubai, something like that. And we notice that the search engine results are really where a lot of our consumers are coming from to KLM, as an example. Search engine is a channel we're going to want to select here. The same way, if they're clicking in a lot of the time from Google Ads, that's probably a channel we're going to want to select. All right. But if we were to see a channel that was very highly mentioned on our target audience research, not just from the survey, maybe from academic journals as well, maybe from an industry online trend report devoted to the airline industry. Maybe it says that affiliate marketing is massive, but we notice the KLM aren't using it. Now, it's probably possible they are, but let's assume they're not. That would give you justification for picking affiliate marketing as a channel. Okay, so it doesn't have to be channels that the airline are actually utilizing at the moment. If it's warranted from your target audience, that's what you need to pick. Does that make sense?
Yes, it
okay.
makes.
So that's what you really need to do. If you pick, as I said, their affiliate marketing, I'm just trying to mix up, or influencer marketing even as a channel in itself, okay, or video marketing as a channel, or video ads in that respect, through Google Ads, but video ads possibly run through YouTube, and maybe KLM doesn't actually utilize them, but you've noticed through your maybe journal research, trend research report, that video content is specifically video ads has really high conversions with the airline industry. That's a completely well thought out justification for going down the channel of Google Ads, specifically video here. So that's one area. Another area I would say is, just as another channel to suggest, possibly content marketing. Maybe they're not utilizing content marketing enough, but research suggests that a lot of consumers possibly are using content marketing as a way to gain more insight into the airline, or possibly the locations that this airline features and so on. So everything that you do in terms of your selection can be backed with audience justification for reaching them, and also not forgetting qualifying those objectives. So you might want to have overall conversions enhanced by 10% within a specific time frame, and that way you've really got to pick the channels that are going to give you those conversions, and in which case, looking at the target audience data of where they are, that's fine. Maybe you've got just a brand awareness objective, and maybe in that case you want to pick a different channel, maybe content marketing or social media. It's actually not about conversions, it's just about brand awareness, and that would be another channel and justification. So they're the two areas. You qualify those objectives and make sure you reach your target audience, and that will hopefully give you the insight into which channels to select. So you can pick new channels entirely based on your research if it's warranted, or you can develop existing channels. So if you see that, and again, maybe you're using SEMrush or a free trial on SEMrush perhaps to identify what are the kind of highly focused channels that KLM are getting their consumers onto their website from. If it's paid ads, that's fine. And if that's warranted, just to kind of increase it by maybe all you want to do is have a realistic objective of increasing the conversions from pay-per-click ads by 5 or 10% perhaps, based on the budget that you have available, in this case about 66 million, that's absolutely fine as well. So you can innovate existing channels to qualify your business objectives and reach your target audience, or you can select new channels entirely, as long as it's warranted from your target audience data, and also that it would qualify possibly an awareness objective, possibly a retention objective. Maybe you want to retain customers, in which case email marketing might be a better channel to go on, if again we've established that from research, whether it's a trend report or target audience surveys or academic journals. That makes sense?
Yes, totally. totally.
No problem.
Thank you so much.
No
Yeah, it
problem.
makes it so much easier. Thank you.
No problem. And the good news is the airline industry, you should be able to find academic journals
Yes.
and trend reports as well. That's why we selected it, because it's also quite a nice industry to research. And remember, just another piece of insight there is that you can find data that would be pre-COVID and utilize that. And you could also, there's a lot of reports currently with COVID and the current situation, and you can also use that kind of data as well. So that's absolutely fine. Some students get a little bit confused. So again, it's just about, establishing that some of the research that you've utilized is pre-COVID and some of it is actually current trend reports. And by having the citation beside the research article, 2021 or 2020, or that's absolutely fine. It will establish what time frame the data was published in.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, also the combination of the information then will make it even more powerful.
Yeah, absolutely, because you can draw on, and actually it's a very interesting, it's not completely, obviously we didn't know that COVID was going to happen when we developed the assignment, but it is a very interesting piece of data to go on, that you can see the fluctuations or changes. And again, you have the budget that's kind of pre-COVID, and you can say to yourself, what is the current situation of the company, in terms of their conversions or their brand exposure and so on, based on these kind of online metrics. And I think at the moment the airline industry, now I'm based in the Republic of Ireland here. I just heard actually on, I think it was Euronews the other day, that the industry, they say, is about operating at about 30% in Europe. I think that's what they said. So again, it's going to be down, but nevertheless, if that's a data that you find a trend report on, it's absolutely brilliant, but you can also refer to data previously as well. That's fine.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
No problem. Guys, I'm going to have a look at the chat box just to see if we have any other questions here. Citations is that one. I don't have anything else come in at the moment, guys. Has anybody else got any other questions?
I do have one last question. This is Lindsay.
That's fine, Lindsay, no problem.
If we have to hand in our project on week 20, which would be, do we hand it in by the Monday or by the Friday? I know this is semantics, but those are extra days.
It's absolutely fine. So Lindsay, I have multiple cohorts on this webinar, so I don't want to scare anybody, but we're giving an exact date out, because everyone's kind of running on a different time frame. But what I would say to you is that it's due obviously on week 20, and it's 4 p.m. Ireland time. I just mentioned that we're in Ireland here at the Digital Marketing Institute. So it's 4 p.m. Ireland time. Whereabouts are you based? In the States, is it?
United States.
United States. Okay. So obviously you're a little bit behind then in terms of the time frame. So it's 4 p.m. Irish time, and if you can convert that, that's what you're looking to get then on the actual day. Does that make sense?
So I'm not exactly sure, is the actual day like the Monday of the beginning of the week, or is it on the Friday?
Okay, not to worry, just bear with me a sec. What is the actual cohort that you were in? What was your start date? I'll just check for you.
I want to say April 1st.
Okay, no problem. Just bear with me a second, I'll just have a look.
I apologize.
You're okay, no worries. So if you were in the April 1st cohort, you're looking at a submission date for assignment 1 of the 19th of August. Would that add up to what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, so it's the 19th of August, 4 p.m. Irish time.
Got it. Thank you very, very much.
No problem. No problem at all. But guys, just a quick disclaimer to anybody else who may have just kind of come into the webinar and heard that date. Everybody is on different dates and deadlines. So go in and have a look at your assignment submission page, and the date is up there as well. Okay, so don't be worried if that's not the submission time for you. Everybody's on different submissions depending on what cohort you're in. Okay. Now, guys, anyone else got any questions? I see we've got about probably 10 minutes left if anybody wants to ask anything else. So I'll give it a couple more seconds. What I would say, I'm just trying to think of some kind of insights to anybody. Actually, yes. What I would say is to anybody who's looking for developing, if this is more specific to assignment 1, but if anybody's looking for insights into how to develop possibly surveys or how to really develop good qualitative research for your interviews when you're composing your interviews, there is a good textbook actually in the learning support hub of your platform called Qualtrics Market Research. So it's in there. If you go into the learning support hub and click on the preparation stage, you'll see that there's links to a lot of supporting assets, and it's a pretty good textbook in terms of developing your interview criteria or developing your survey data, just for anyone who's on assignment one. Sometimes students often wonder, with research, how do I kind of really develop a thorough method of kind of an interview from a qualitative perspective? And if it's a quantitative survey, the insights are in that textbook as well. So it's probably worth investigating. There's also and this actually probably applies to Sophia, who is on assignment 2, but we have, and they're mentioned on the other webinars, but nevertheless, we have got a lot of assets on the membership platform. So, and they really land themselves more with assignment 2, some of these. So we have obviously the mock-up tools, if you will, some of them like the Google Ads generator, which is on there as well. We've got the buyer persona templates as well. We have a Gantt chart template that you can use for assignment 2. So there's even there's a new one that's come out, and I'll put it on the slides as well. There's a new one that has kind of an approximate budget kind of calculation tool as well. I'll put it up on the forum for a few students. I'll definitely have it on the next webinar anyway. But there's loads of tools, and they're only being added to as well. And there's articles as well on the membership platform that you can even cite those articles. So I've mentioned to students before that when you kind of think about the course content and the subject matter experts, and again, not forgetting that's really your first port of call. So, whether it's assignment 2 that you're going into, and I just mentioned there the likes of, using assets like the budget tables or management dashboards. There's a whole section on budgeting within the course content in itself. There's a whole section on management dashboards with Matt Mooney. So go in there, look at the research, and look at the subject matter experts, look at the best principles, the best practices of how they utilize these kind of strategies and theories in regards to digital marketing. Then go off and do your own research. Now you can go to membership and find a template, or you can find a report on membership, and you can actually cite the membership content because it's more kind of public domain articles there that have been developed by thought leaders in the industry, by internal research, and so on and so forth. So you can absolutely utilize the membership content for your assignments, and that's fine. But I wouldn't reference the subject matter experts within your course, because it's the same way that if you were in a university classroom, you'd never reference your lecture in the classroom. You'd go down to the library, or you'd take your laptop out and you'd look at academic journals, or you'd look at online reports. So think of it that way. So you can cite membership, but you shouldn't be citing the subject matter experts. But for assignment 2, just to summarize and roll back to my initial kind of reason for bringing this up, is that there are templates that you can utilize on the membership platform for Gantt charts, for budget tables, for Google Ads, if that's possibly a channel that you want to showcase how you're going to utilize it. There's a Google Ads kind of development tool on there as well. Okay, so there's a good few assets on there, and we're only adding to them, as I said. So possibly some areas worth of exploring there. Guys, any more questions? I see we're kind of we've got a couple of minutes left if anyone has any other questions.
Hi, Daniel, again. Sophia, I wanted to ask you, is there any way that you give this Q&A like more often? I think it's programmed to be once a month. I am not so sure if you already programmed it for next month, but I feel like this is maybe a way that you can express like better like the answers, because I feel like through the email sometimes it is pretty clear, but mostly if you want to ask something else, or if there's something not totally clear from our side, like this back and forth takes a little bit more time. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, I think it would benefit a lot of us for like just to be able to ask more questions and to keep up with our assignments, that we don't have like so much time,
Absolutely.
I agree.
So, okay, that's good, guys. So I would just like to say this is actually the first of these that we've done. We do these at the master's level a little bit more, and we're trying to innovate. We've listened to feedback, and we're trying to bring this in. So, congratulations, these are all in a test cohort today, to see if this would work. So I'm quite happy to hear the feedback is mostly positive. If everybody, I know some people aren't chatting, please do though. If you just want to even give a yes or a no, if you'd like to see more of these, so I can kind of go on just a little bit of data to kind of get the general feedback here. Yes being another one, please, and no being not. Just yeah, okay, so I've got a couple coming in here. Brilliant. So guys, what I'll try to do is I'll try to kind of scale out these and build them, that we have more. I'll also try to back it up with some visuals as well, because so I do apologize, we tried to launch this in a fairly quick time, and just kind of innovate the process a little bit, but we definitely want to build on this, and I'll try and get one that's kind of a bit more structure, substance in it as well, because I understand there's some methods can be a little bit hard to explain as well, purely by me discussing it. I'd love to have some kind of working examples. So I'm happy to hear the feedback has been mostly good on this, and I will try to get a few more of these going. At the moment, the next one is scheduled for next month. So I do apologize to anyone who's going to be submitting before that. Please do get your questions to us. And I understand the turnaround is a little bit longer at the moment. We're currently, as I said, there's a lot of very big cohorts at the moment, so we are trying to address everybody's question. But I will have one of these next month, and I'll try to get them possibly bi-weekly then, where you can come in and bounce ideas off, see how you're getting on with your assignments, and also I'll hopefully have some kind of visual representation of some of the questions as well, and we can go from there. But I will definitely take that, and I appreciate people giving the feedback here. It looks mostly positive, and thanks Sophia and Lindsay for asking kind of questions directly as well, to kind of build up a bit of a flow on today's webinar. And we'll try to get them bi-weekly if that's possible, with some more kind of supporting content. But for the moment, they are going to run at the end of each month. But I'll try to bring it down and get more, because I think, as you were saying, to kind of bounce the questions off directly can be a bit more helpful to kind of get that instant answer, or certainly lend itself to maybe asking questions further down the line. But yeah, all feedback is appreciated, and we'll try to scale these up a little bit as well. Does that help?
Yes, thank you. No, actually, I feel like it is really like your answers can be richer when you actually have the opportunity to explain a little bit more. And as you said, maybe with a couple of visuals, or it doesn't have to be so visual, because we also have the opportunity to talk. Mm-hmm. So if I don't understand something, then we can definitely go to email. But it gives us the peace, that we can go to you more often and clarify a lot of the things that we probably or either don't understand, or that we have heard something different, and we just want to make sure that we are going through the right path. And okay. Yeah, last assignment, I felt a little bit I couldn't, or I didn't have enough feedback from you guys. But I also understand that you have this backlog, but at the same time, in this part of the assignment that is so important, the strategy, I would definitely appreciate that you would be there more often, and that we could have this type of conversations that mm-hmm. makes us feel more secure, at least me.
No, I completely understand. And again, it kind of works both ways as well. We can kind of get some instant feedback and build content essentially to help you guys and put clarity on some of the areas of the assignment guidelines, or put some more additional information in the kind of assignment focused webinars, assignment 1 and assignment 2. So we will try to, as I said, at the moment we're scheduled for a monthly kind of version of these, but I'll try to get it bi-weekly. I don't think I can get any more. It's purely based on the capabilities of what we have available, because we are dealing with every cohort currently, and we have multiple students on them. But I will update if there's any escalation of getting these out kind of in a more regular, consistent manner, and we can go from there. At the moment, though, the kind of best practice is still to use assignment queries at zendesk.digitalmarketinginstitute.com. and we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible, or attend the weekly webinars. Remember, we do have a Q&A at the end of each webinar as well. And I understand some students have watched a lot of the content already on them, but you can even sign in toward the end if you want. Usually the Q&A would kick off in the last kind of 15 minutes of one of our weekly webinars, and we welcome all questions on them as well. So
Okay.
so that's absolutely fine. But we will try to devote these ones to more kind of a classroom-based environment, if you will, and we can go from there.
Okay, thank you. Thank
No
you so
problem.
much.
No problem. Guys, do we have any other questions? We've got a couple of seconds. If anyone has any more questions, research is complete, citations. Okay, I don't see any more questions, guys. So what I'll do is we'll take we'll call it a day on this one, I think. And if you, as I said, if you have any more queries going forward in the next couple of days or so, you can use the support email. I'm just trying to grab it there. Yeah, assignment queries at digitalmarketinginstitute.zendesk.com, or you can even use the support section of your learning platform and just go in there to the form, and you can submit your query and just pick postgraduate expert course, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Again, I do apologize for the delays. We have got a hold on a lot of it, so we shouldn't be you shouldn't be waiting more than about a day or two at the moment if you have any queries. So you know, I would advise you to use that email. And the main thing is really, and this for two reasons I'm going to say this, is that, you know, ask questions early on, because if you ask questions early on, even if there is a little bit of a lag, no problem, we will get back to you, and you've got the time then to take those insights and those kind of clarifications and, you know, amend your assignment or develop your assignment as appropriate. The other thing I would say is that, and this, I always say this on webinars anyway, but try not to leave your assignment till the last couple of weeks of its required submission deadline, because even developing your reference list it can take so long. So always try to give yourself, and I understand most students are probably working at the moment as well, or have other personal responsibilities, but nevertheless, try to develop your assignment, try to read an academic journal, try to read an industry report, look at channel data, and just kind of stay in the flow and the regime of always kind of being researching if you can. I know myself, done the master's through the DMI, and if you give yourself even a break sometimes of, you know, 5 or 6 days, and then you look at your notes of what you actually done, you say, I'm gonna have to read that again. You know, I can't actually remember how I can really incorporate it correctly. So sometimes it's always good just to kind of stay informed with how you're developing your own assignment, and give yourself that time to make those changes, because you might come across something new, and you want to bring that in. You might want to take something out, and you, at the end of the day, you always want your assignment to look very aesthetically pleasing as well. So, you know, whether it's spelling, whether it's developing a reference list alphabetically and appropriately with all the correct links, it does take quite a bit of time. What I would also say to you is, just as kind of probably my final insight on this webinar, is that this applies to both assignments, so it might be a good one to kind of end on, is that when you are looking at academic journals, okay, or online articles and so on, I was kind of guilty of this. I remember when I done my first assignment for the PG, and even when I was back in college and university, is that I would always put the internal citation in the research that I was writing out, and then I would say I'll go and I'll find that particular article with its full citation later. I take the web link as well, and I would say I'll put that in a list. My advice to you is to start your reference list the same day when you start your assignment and your research, and actually take the time to get your internal citation, okay, and the full reference citation as well, okay? It saves you so much time at the end, and it's such a labor-intensive, annoying task when you finish your assignment and you go, now I have to clean up my reference list and make sure that all the references are in my reference list. Do it as you go, and it just becomes a much cleaner, much more enjoyable way when you're kind of cleaning up your assignment at the end, to have all your references with the full citations. It's a bit annoying when you're researching, I understand that, because you've read the article, you've taken your notes, you've paraphrased some of the content, you've kind of got the key findings of the article or the trend report or the channel data perhaps, and then you say, right, now I need to get the full citation, and you're like, oh, but you know, I've got the citation, I've got the web link, I'll do it a bit later. Do it in that same day, and it pays dividends back later on when you have them done. Your reference list will be pretty much ready to go out of the box, and it's all accurate. Better to do one at a time accurately than to have to do like 15 in a row, because it can take quite a lot of time, particularly toward the end of the assignment when you're up against a deadline. You want to be looking at more. You want to be looking at devoting that time to, making sure that your research is coming across in a good manner, as opposed to just looking at developing a reference list. So hopefully that's something and you can apply that to both assignment 1 and assignment 2. So hopefully that kind of gives you guys just a little bit of kind of a formatting tip that we can probably end today's webinar on. Okay, so guys, I don't see any other questions, so I think we'll call it a day there. Thanks for everybody for attending this kind of trial webinar, and we will hopefully have more. As I said, they're definitely going to be on a monthly basis. I'll try and get them on a more consistent bi-weekly basis as well. But thanks for everyone for being here, guys. And I'll see some of you on the next webinar, perhaps devoted to the assignments, or I'll definitely hopefully see you on the next overall Q&A one. And I'll put the link up for the next monthly one in the next couple of hours on the webinar schedule. Okay, so thanks everybody, and thanks for the engagement from some of you on the microphone as well. And have a great day, or whatever time it is you're at, because I know we've got a few students from different areas here. And hopefully you're making your way through the content and developing your assignments as well, guys. All right. So thanks for your time and have a great day.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.